I wanted to start off with the writing, first of all. Howard is a character that's very like up and down, and there's this constant sense of anxiety. And how did you kind of structure that character journey on paper?
It's tricky, you spend 10 years writing something, so the ideas start to coagulate and coalesce and start to form, and we don't really tend to look at stories from a 3-act structure, but we start to kind of see, okay, this is our version of that, and we wanted to embark on a thriller, and what does it actually mean to be thrilling in that regard? So you want to make every moment in this guy's life to be charged in that regards, and because he's a gambler and because he's an eternal optimist, it kind of made each moment that more reflective.
He's also a very character of extremes. When he's happy, he's the happiest in the world. When he's sad, he's as sad as possible.
You having a good time?
Yes.
For like visual storytelling, how much like planning do you do ahead of time, storyboarding, anything like that?
It's fully planned. We go through and we shot list everything, try and figure out the maximum amount of way to kind of cover the scene, and then it changes and shifts while you're there because the acting and stuff is moving, but you don't ever want to kind of lock down the ideas of it all. But we do figure it out.
This was the first film that I actually storyboarded every shot. I usually storyboard about 30%. Usually do the stuff that involves like, special effects or big stunts as set pieces. But for some reason, I don't. Maybe just because of the longevity of the project that I had time to storyboard it.
It was also helpful for Darius. Talking about it with Darius, it was important to show all that to him.
Yeah, because we like to work in a seemingly free-form fashion. I think having a rigid visual guide is important, and being able to walk an audience through that visually is important. So we had and working with Darius Kanji was the first time we were working with him in a feature film. We did a music video, Jay-Z video, that was equally pretty rigidly storyboarded, but this was feature film territory. So it's a 160-page plus script. So yeah, we wanted to make sure that it was as perfect as possible, at least in the preparation.
And I was really impressed with the sets in particular, especially the Howard's jewelry store. Mm-hmm. Could you kind of talk about how that came to be and sort of how you plan the coverage for that?
Well, for the set, we like shooting on location just because it gives restrictions to how you can tell the story, and the audience can feel that, how it feels like a real place. And part of when we took that to the set, we wanted to kind of use some of those limitations to our advantage, so you couldn't really move some of the showcases around because that's how it would be in real life. And I guess maybe it's stubborn, but I think it adds to the whole feeling of it. But
it definitely feels like a real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, 2010 is when this project really started to really take shape, its initial shape, and then that was when the research kind of began. We wrote the first draft, which was really inspired by memory and nostalgia of these stories our dad used to tell us and we vaguely remember. But once you get into the Diamond District on 47th Street in New York City, you start to feel that energy that really emanates from the walls. And all of these spaces, they're all so, they all kind of are in the same general language, but they all speak to the person who runs it, so you can tell when the business was thriving.
It's so
usually,
lived in,
You can usually tell based on the decor and the era. So with our character, we decided in the biography that he really hit it big in the late 90s, early aughts. So that's where you see that late 90s is really where you see his decor of the space. So you can tell a lot by someone's workspace and someone's home.
And the hardest part about the set was making it feel like it had been around for 10 years, those filling in the little because once you had the broad picture of it,
more than 10 years.
But the broad picture of the space, you then had to fill in all of the details of, okay, what makes this lived in, what are the things that you have to add, like the speaker wires that are no longer used and were updated, but they're still there, all these little things that you can see the history of the space in the details. I don't know.
What is that? Are you serious?
There's a lot of really amazing like non-actors in this movie. Could you kind of talk about what your process is for casting and preparing them for their roles?
Oh, yeah, well, with first-time actors, it's always exciting because you're kind of casting them for the essence of their personality, and you want to hopefully they can bring that. The thing is when you go through the casting process, we work with Jen Vendetti a lot on this part of it. She's kind of very good at finding people and then weeding them out to see if they're really into acting, making them feel safe and comfortable, and then we also like to kind of take these people and mix them with professional actors who've acted many times, and you kind of create an interesting alchemy between them because the professional actors are kind of nervous to go up against the first-time actors because they have so much experience in the world that they're playing, but then the first-time actors are nervous acting opposite the professional actors, so there's kind of this competing worlds that work together, and it creates an interesting dynamic between them. But yeah, there's something awesome about putting those personalities on the screen and working with them.
I think that Jen Vendetti, who we collaborate a lot with her team, Elaine Hendricks and Michelle Mansour, and a few others there. The beauty is that they're doing something that's kind of greater than casting. When we look to fulfill some of these otherwise genre characters, like the heavies in the film, we really didn't want to have any artifice there. So when the big thing that they do is Jen, directed a great film called Billy the Kid that played South by Southwest actually in 2007. It's a great character portrait and the way she's able to see past, see deep down into someone's character and see the beauty there is lines up really with what we're after, and she knows who we'll respond to, and a lot of the times she does these audition tapes that the first auditions, there's no readings, there's no improvisations, they're just interviews with people. And they're usually 20 to 40 minutes, and those interviews sometimes make us go back and change some of the writing. Whether we use the person or not, they just inform or inspire some ideas. So the process is, as a filmmaker, it's great, then when you have people reading lines, whether they've done 100 movies or none, that also starts to help inform the writing because you're starting to hear, even the people who don't get it, you're starting to see how your ideas are not communicating. So it's a very important part of the process, obviously.
I was kind of wondering what your attitude towards genre is and like what you see yourselves doing in the future. Do you kind of want to stay in the same genre or do something totally different?
Of course we want to, this is our first real foray, and like when we watch it with the audience, we can hear a constant presence of laughter and humor, and I think that's giving us a little bit of a taste or desire to kind of go even maybe fuller on into a comedy, but there's other genres that we're interested in. I mean, we made Good Time as an education to make gems and understand what pacing was. So really what we'll see for ourselves in the next group of projects will be different. We'll have to operate in a different universe. The last 10 years have existed within the universe of Uncut Gems. So everything we made was kind of facilitated by the journey of making that movie. So we'll see where the next ones take us, if it's going to be science fiction or something staunchly period. We're not sure yet, but we have some worlds that we're interested in. Yeah.
This is me. This is how I win.